Hey guys, this video I'm going to show you how to be good at defense in NHL 22. I think some people have been struggling. For some reason, I find this year to be the easiest year to play defense. So I'm going to show you some clips from some examples in game that I think can be applied to a lot of situations. And also, before we get into that, I do want to show the strategies that I use. So depending on the context of the game, I always usually start out with the 1-4 trap. So you can see the slider for trap and forechecks almost all the way to the left. If I start to lose or I'm down by like a goal or two, I do adjust it to a full forecheck. And I use 1-2-2 aggressive. And for the strictly defensive strategies, I combine contain puck with collapsing. I've tried protect net and collapsing, but I just find it a little bit too passive. So contain puck is something that I find at least the defense plays with some aggression. And also, I do use correct-handedness defensemen, so left-handed on left side, right-handed on right side. The majority of that reason is for offensive reasons. Like, I think it's easier to move the puck and cycle whenever you have correct-handedness defensemen. But also, it seems a little bit easier to intercept some of those cross-crease passes. So we can move on to the in-game examples. So before we get into the first example, there's one additional thing to call out, and I do play with auto backskate off. In this game, it's more beneficial to play like shoulder to shoulder with the forward than it is just to backskate, at least in my opinion. And I think most of the top players use auto backskate off. So getting into this first example, and the first two kind of go together, defending the rush, and in two different scenarios, right? So this first one we're looking at, it's squeezing the player to the boards. So what I'm doing here is, and if you don't know already, whenever you hold poke check, you can also use the right stick to kind of angle your stick. So in this example with Riddiman, once I see him skating towards the boards, I'm holding the poke check button in R1 on PlayStation or RB on Xbox, and then I'm angling the stick with the right stick toward the boards, right? I'm still kind of keeping a distance just in case he cuts inside, but I'm still pushing him towards the boards just for a loose puck. So in this one, easy to see, he's only skating down the boards. I can at least get the stick on him and then cause a loose puck. So moving on to the next example. So clearly we have a slight wardrobe change, right? And I'm recording this in pieces. But anyway, onto this clip. And I think this is a good one that shows sometimes whenever you do mess up and you make some defensive actions and you don't get the poke check off, but the importance of maintaining that like shoulder to shoulder positioning with the forward and just maintaining a small gap so you're never truly beat. So I'm going to show this clip now and go over just a couple things. So I'll show it in slow-mo. I missed the first poke. Missed the second one, missed the third, right? But finally, I'm able to convert on the fourth poke check. So why was I able to do that? I'm going to go back a little bit here earlier in the play. So I'm going to pause it. As I mentioned before, auto backskate is off, and that's extremely important. After I missed that first poke, I'm kind of just skating with the guy, right? So going here, this is an important part of the play right there. I missed that poke check. But whenever I go for the poke there, I'm holding my left stick towards the net, right? So like, if I do get that poke check off, great, but there's also the chance I'm not gonna get it as we see here. So I'm thinking about if I miss that poke check, how can I still maintain position with the player, right? So I missed the poke, moving on to the play, miss another one, but I'm still maintaining that inside position, right? I'm never truly beat on the play. And I think that's important just to anticipate whenever you're trying to make some of these defensive actions. Realizing your chances of getting beat, so you're never actually truly beat on the play, and you can make a play later on. So I think this is a good clip in showing just the overall positioning you want to defend on the rush. Still sticking with defending the rush here, but this is something that I want to call out that I think comes up a lot throughout a game. So I'm going to play this and then show you what I mean exactly. So similar to the first clip, forcing the opponent to the outside, right? Maintaining that positioning in case they try to make a move or cut to the middle. But that player switch there, right? So I'm going to show this play again. I'm going to go back a little bit. So here you can see I'm forcing this player to the outside, never getting too close, right? But the second the player gets to the corner there, and they kind of give up going behind the net, right? So like I'm kind of defending. I don't want him to get behind the net on the rush. So I know he's going to cut back towards the middle, and excuse my camera here, but I think you know where the player is, right? So the second that player gets to the corner and initiates his turnaround to go back up towards the boards, I'm switching to that forward I have in the middle, right? The second I switch to him, as you can see, as the play starts to begin, I'm just throwing a poke to the middle, right? So I know the player that he had was on his forehand. That's really his only option, right? So forced to the outside, and then the second that he kind of gives up that possession there, I'm switching to the middle. And then regardless of like what side this happens on, or what players you have, this is a play that comes up probably 3 to 5 times a game, right? So I think this is something that you can utilize. Once that player gives up that kind of action in the corner of the offensive zone, switching to the middle, your defender in the slot, and then just bringing him over for that preemptive move to the slot, right? So I can kind of assume whenever the forward's skating down there, switching this up a little bit, he's going to cut back towards the middle, right? So like I'm already going towards him for that poke check, just on the assumption of what he's going to do, right? And even if he doesn't cut to the middle and he cuts up the boards, at least I'm there to stop the play. So now that we got defending the rush kind of out of the way, I want to focus more on in-zone defense, which I think is way more important. But a lot of what I do is kind of based on just limiting high danger chances and more just focused on defending like the passing and shooting lanes. So I'm going to go through this play again in slow motion and call out some of the things I'm doing, right? So we already know the person I'm playing has established, possession in the offensive zone, right? So looking at this here, the second that this guy makes the pass to the point, I'm switching to my high forward in the defensive zone, and I'm kind of just looking at, is he going to make the pass to the other defenseman for a D to D, right? So I'm playing that like a little aggressive, but once I see that he's not making that pass, I'm switching back, trying to get to the middle, right? So looking back at this play, once I see that he doesn't make the pass, he has that whole middle open, right? So how do you defend that? And this is, like I said, a lot of this is applicable where it happens a lot throughout the game, right? So once they make that pass and the slot's kind of opened, I'm switching back to my defenseman, and I'm not really playing too aggressive, but I'm just covering the shooting lane here, right? So I switch to Hedman, and I get into that area where a lot of people like to shoot, right? So right there, people really like to go for the short side or far side wrist shots. As long as you're in that lane, you're going to block the shot, right? You don't really have to worry about too much. You don't have to get too aggressive. As long as you stay in the shooting lane, you're going to block the shot. So once I switch to Hedman and kind of make that, area that I'm in, he has no option. He cuts back, and right now I'm thinking, like, do I have to watch the point if he makes that pass, or do I give him more of the middle area? And it's, like I said, not overcommitting, right? So I'm watching that point shot for the one-timer, but also once he overcommits and makes his way to the slot, I'm cutting back with Draisaitl here, right? So he doesn't do a good job, and I'm able to make the poke check, right? So this happens a lot throughout a game. I'm covering that point in case he makes that pass. Once he doesn't, I'm coming back with a poke check, right? So it's just weighing those options of like which lane to defend, I guess, right? So going through the play here, I'll let it play. And I think I'm running like 50% speed. I think it's easier to read that way. Just staying in those lanes. Passive, but like just actively staying in lanes. I think that's the best way to describe it. So if you've played literally any NHL 22, people love to live behind the net to go for the same 2 to 3 goals. And now that Geimer's posted another goal that works behind the net, I think some of them are easy to stop. And hopefully these next couple of clips kind of show how I try to stop that stuff. So starting out here, as I mentioned before, just keeping that positioning, eliminating the high danger scoring chances. A lot of the stopping the behind the net stuff is just bringing people down and just throwing a poke check, right? So as you can see here, this guy really doesn't have much. He's gone for the same couple of moves. So going back to the beginning of this clip, right? Make a bad player switch, I get Byram here. Not a good thing, but I'm able to switch to the other defenseman just to block that wraparound attempt, right? So once that's eliminated, another thing to call out here, right? That's eliminated. He's going to try to go back for the other side, right? So knowing now that people like to do the far side wrap, and then now they start to shoot behind like the trapezoid area to hit off the back of the goalie. So one thing that's important, if you get one thing from this video, switching to your forwards that are in the slot and then just bringing them down preemptively to block these chances, right? So I switch to Cousins here. Once I see him initiate that behind the net to go to the other side, I switch to Cousins, and I just make a beeline for that side of the net, right? So I'm going there. I overcompensate, right? So like I'm on the right side of the net now. He's already going back to the other side. Your players are fast enough in the game. I'm throwing the poke there, right? Your players are fast enough to get back in time. So it's literally just overcommitting in some of these instances just to block those glitch goals, right? So looking back at this play again, watching it one more time, once I see him kind of start to initiate that, I'm switching to a forward and I'm just making a beeline right to the side of the net. I'm throwing a poke. I don't know if he's going to go for a wraparound or not, but it's not worth the chance where he does and then you don't throw a poke check. So once I miss that, you still have enough time to get back, throw the poke. He can't get the goal, right? So it's a lot of switching close to the net and then switching to a forward and then just bringing them down to the side of the net so people don't score those types of goals. And I'll show another example here. So this example is very similar to the last one. Notice before this play starts, I have control of my forward right in the slot area. This player, I think, was working behind the net a lot, trying to get off a lot of those goals. As you can see, it's the third period. He doesn't have any goals. So what am I doing? Preemptively overcommitting with the forward, right? So I'm thinking right there, going back on this, once he makes that pass, I have to assume that he's doing like a backhand wrap or shooting from there, right? It's the only thing this guy's been doing, and a lot of players do this online. So I do overcommit with Ovechkin, and I'm throwing a poke check. The guy hasn't even gotten close to there, but I'm still keeping the stick there. And once you do that, you can make it back in time. As soon as I do that, I overcommit. I force him to the other side, and I'm able to throw the poke check to get the puck back, right? So going through this play one more time, have control of the forward, bring them down low, throw the poke there at the side of the net. He's not going to get a shot off. And once you do that, you kind of force them to the other side, like I said, right? So once I force him to the other side, I know he's going to go for the same exact chance there. Come back to the other side, throw a poke check, you get the puck back. A lot of these people play the same exact way. If you play online, you know that they go for the same 2 or 3 moves. Once you figure out how to stop those moves, it's really easy to stop, almost everybody you come across. So these next couple of clips, it seems people still sometimes struggle with cross creases. I think they're very easy to stop this year, but there's also a couple things I might do that some people don't. So this first one, I want to outline stick tie-ups in front of the net. So if you don't know, if you hold X on PlayStation or A on Xbox and you're near a player, you can tie up their stick, right? So I want you to pay attention on this play, keeping that player right outside a little bit. I switched to dry saddle here, and I'm worried about the cross crease, right? So like he's coming out to the slot. That's his option. He's on the backhand, right? He's not on his forehand, so he can't really take a shot. So I'm just skating up to the player that's at the side of the net, and I'm holding an X, so he can't get that. If he does make the pass, it's going to go through him, right? So I eliminate that chance now. His player's out of the play, and that kind of takes away his option. So looking at that again, he doesn't really have too much to do there, but I know he's probably going to go for a cross crease, right? So once I take that away, he's kind of just doing nothing, as you can see in this play, right? So that's one option that you have to do to defend the cross creases. So in this example, I think this is something that you don't see enough people using online, and that's just the block button. So L1 on PlayStation or LB on Xbox. In this, I use more of like, I'm kind of out of the play, but I'm still somewhat in position and like a last-ditch effort to block a pass. So I'm going to play this clip here. And my opponent did a good job of kind of like breaking my defense down and finding some open space. But as you can see here, I was totally beat, right? But I'm able to press L1 and block the pass. So you have to be in between the puck and the pass receiver, obviously, right? So I know that if he makes the pass, he's probably going to get it through. He has me beat here. So looking at when I start to initiate it, and maybe I should have thought about playing this in super slow motion, right? But you can kind of see how the play develops. So right there, it was almost a miniature 3-on-1, right? I have like guys in the middle, but they can't really make a play. And I know that the pass is incoming, right? So as long as I'm where the pass receiver is going to be, right? I'm in that line of direction and I can L1, I'm going to stop the pass, right? So he's making the pass there. I L1, I'm able to make the play. He doesn't score a goal. So this is kind of a perfect clip because I have 2 different things to call out here. One, beginning, starting with this one. Just the L1 pass block continuation of the last clip. Able to easily stop the cross crease there, right? So looking at that, I'm assuming he's going to do the cross crease, so I'm just preemptively getting down in the L1 to block the pass. 2, this is somebody like most people that play online. They like to wait in the corner for you to overcommit with a defenseman so they can skate out front for the cross crease or for like a far side goal or something, right? So what do you do in these instances? What One thing I heavily recommend, if there's, one takeaway, I guess, from this video, switching to the opposite side forward, high up in the zone. So for here, it's Stutzla. So I'm going to switch to him and bring him down, right? So once I see that he's kind of waiting in the corner, you can bring him down. Like in those clips earlier, I made a beeline for the opposite side that the player was on, thinking he might try to do a wraparound. But once I see that he's not and he's coming out front, you can just wait for him to make the poke check, right? So going back earlier in the play, switching to the opposite side, high forward, right, works on both sides. You don't want to overcommit with defensemen. You don't want to bring them down just because it's easy to get out of the play, right? So if you switch to the opposite side forward, you can bring them down. Now you have 3 people or 4 close to the net to make a play. So that's one thing I do quite a lot, is just bring that opposite side forward down, throw a poke check. Easy to get the puck off of people that way. All in all, I think we went over about 9 examples. And like I said, I think these are clips/examples that you find yourself playing against a lot online, right? So once you figure out how to stop those same people that go for the same behind the net goals or cross creases, you should find yourself winning a lot more games. And I do save all of my past streams on here and on Twitch, so if you want to see some of these in more context, you can definitely do that. I regularly finish with one of the lowest goals against in Hut Champs, so I think watching my streams, right, and what I do on defense should provide some context to the clips I went over. Once you figure out how to stop, these same examples, right, most of the people you play online are going to be doing these same exact things, so it should be easy to get a lot more wins. As always, every Tuesday morning, myself and NoSleeves release our weekly podcast, Coffee and Chow. Definitely appreciate everybody that's been listening there. And I also recommend watching some of the other videos if you haven't already on my YouTube channel. I have a few how to score videos out that have been pretty good. And thank you guys for watching. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. This is one of my longer videos, and it's really hard to explain defense, so I thought providing examples of what people do was the best way to do it. So if it worked, let me know. If not, any negative feedback's always good feedback in my opinion. So thank you guys and have a good one.